Guys, today we're going to be reviewing 20 bottles in 20 minutes. And if you know me, that's a tall task because I like to say a lot of words and talk for a long time when it comes to whiskey. However, this video is very much in the spirit of Roy Aquavite's recycled reviews videos or John the Whiskey Neighbor's Journey's End videos. I have bottles that I have emptied this year that I want to tell you about before I go ahead and toss them in the bin. So these are quick reviews of my experience with these whiskeys from the beginning of the bottle to the end, and I'll give you my thoughts. I'll score them from 1 to 10, and I'll tell you whether or not I'll be replacing these bottles. My name is Matt. This is Whiskey on the West Coast. Guys, we're going to start in the Speyside. We're going to start off with GlenAllachie 12-year-old Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey. This is a 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, natural color. I believe it's a combination of Oloroso and Pedro Jimenez casks. Goes for, if on sale, about $70 to $95 Canadian. My thoughts, this is a perma-shelf bottling for me, guys. It is the first bottle I think of when I think of the GlenAllachie core range. I don't think of the 10 cask strength or the 15. I think of the 12. I think it's really the Goldilocks zone in their core range. When I'm talking about like the flavors, I'm talking, raisin, chocolate, orange, a bit of like tobacco or leather, some nice minerality. This is bordering on becoming a whiskey classic for me. Score 7 out of 10, which is a really solid score. Will I replace it? I already have. I'm actually on my third bottle of GlenAllachie 12-year-old since 2020. Each batch has been excellent, especially when picked up for that $70 price. Next up is the Mortlach single malt Scotch whiskey. It's 43.4% ABV. It is colored, it is chill filtered, it is Diageo'd. We can, so to speak. This is a 2020 batch. I paid about $90 Canadian for it, which is a great price. Typically closer to 120, 130. I actually really liked it. It was really easy drinking. It brought all those nice sherried flavors that you want from the Beast of Dufton. That's 2.81 times distilled. A bit of that meatiness that it's known for, but not a whole lot. Score for this, 6 out of 10. I could probably pour this for anyone and they more or less will enjoy it. Will I replace it? No, probably not. I rarely see it at that price anymore, $90. I don't really want to pay more for it. And with better examples out there from Gordon MacPhail's Distiller Labels series, a 46% ABV non-chill filter natural color with a 15-year-old age statement on the label, I think I'll opt for that to replace this one. Still one of the better core range offerings from Diageo. Next up is Benromach 10-year-old Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey. It's 43% ABV. It is chill filtered, but a natural color, thankfully. 2020 batch. This cost me about $55 Canadian, runs about $75 regular price now, but you can still find it on sale for that price occasionally. This for me is a perma-shelf bottling from the Springbank of the Speyside. This more rustic, lightly peated Speyside style is straight down the middle of home plate for what I enjoy. It's an always enjoyable dram that became my salmon fishing flask whiskey for many seasons. Score 7 out of 10. Will I replace it? I already have twice before. I will again in the future, especially since I've heard a rumor that the Benromach 10, 15, 21 are all going to get a bump in ABV up to 46% ABV. If that's the case, it's cemented its place as a perma-shelf bottling. Our last bottle from the Speyside is that boutique whiskey company, Speyside 12-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey, 46% ABV, non-chill filtered natural color. It's from their new 700ml core range. I guess couple years old now. I got this on a wicked sale for $48 Canadian, typically retails closer to 90. My thoughts, it was a fantastic whiskey for the price I got it at. Could it be a good sub-in for something like GlenAllachie 12? Yes, or whatever your go-to sherried Speysider is. If you're getting it at $48, it's a fantastic value. For actual performance, I'm going to give it probably a 6 out of 10. Will I replace it? Yes, but conditionally. I already have a backup of this at that original price, and I'd do it again at the price I paid. However, this is a style of whiskey that's kind of a mood whiskey, and as a mood whiskey, I don't think I'd want to pick it up at full price. Next up, we're actually going to be talking about a blended malt, which is Naked Malt blended malt whiskey. This is 43%, it's chill filtered, all that, but it is a blended malt that's been finished and first fill PX sherry casks, I believe. I got this at $35 on sale for a bottle. That's about as cheap as you're going to find a bottle of Scotch in Canada, or at least in British Columbia. Usually closer to $50. My thoughts on it, it's great to bring to casual social events, parties, because it's an approachable whiskey for whiskey curious people. It's a blend of likely Macallan, Highland Park, Glenrothes, and other malts, but it is all malt. There's no grain inside of it. It actually performs incredibly well for the humble price. It has broad distribution. I think it's available in each province and in many countries, and it's easy to recommend. It's not like a complex contemplative dram, but simply a good one at a solid price. It's a notch above average. Score 6 out of 10. Will I replace it? Not for me. I'm not going to replace it. I'd recommend it to many, but I'm not a casual whiskey drinker, and I simply have too many whiskeys to drink, and I need to save space in my liver for other things. Next up, we're going to talk about a couple Canadian single malts before we head to Islay, and we're going to start with the Macaloney's Island Distillery, the Peat Project, Washington Peat, Spanish Oloroso Barrique Canadian single malt whiskey. That is a mouthful. 46% ABV, non-chill filtered, natural color. It's a single cask. Price is about $105 Canadian. When I first cracked this bottle, it actually became my favorite Macaloney's whiskey ever. Locally sourced peat at 54 ppm phenol parts per million, extremely close in profile to a nicely peated kind of like Highland style whiskey. Has only been rivaled by the two ex-bourbon Peat Project releases that have come out, the Islay Peat and the Washington Peat. I really love this. 7 out of 10. Easy to recommend. Will I replace it? I actually already have a backup of this one because I really loved it. I'm hoping we may see an age-stated version of it in the future. If so, I'll be also grabbing that one. Another whiskey from Vancouver Island on the west coast of Canada here is the Shelter Point Smoke Point Batch 2, 50% ABV, non-chill filtered, natural color. This one is getting its peat influence from ex-Laphroaig quarter casks that they used to put this batch together. The more recent releases of Smoke Point have changed the way they actually impart some peatiness to the whiskey. This one is very malt, grain, barley influenced. There's a particular note on it I can only describe as like a craft whiskey note. I think more recent batches, like I said, are better than this batch too. And also the competition in Canadian whiskey has gotten stiffer. When I'm looking for a peated Canadian single malt or peat influenced Canadian whiskey, I'm looking at Macaloney's Peat Projects. I'm looking at Anoka out of Alberta, which is doing fantastic peated whiskey. Score on this though, 6 out of 10. It's still a great whiskey and it's well worth trying if you haven't tried it. But will I replace it? Not at this time, just because there's more interesting things not only out there on the market from Canada and peated whiskey, but also from Shelter Point. Their 12-year-old is fantastic, and their estate barley 10-year-old seems really good too. Onward to Islay, and our first stop is the Port Charlotte 10-year-old from the Bruichladdich Distillery, 50% ABV, non-chill filtered, natural color. I paid $115 back in 2019 for this batch. Right now you can get it for about $80 Canadian on sale in Alberta. Fantastic price. Thoughts? This is the new Islay standard for a 10-year-old core range release, beating out the likes of say Ardbeg 10 or Laphroaig 10, among others. It's a flavorful integrity bottling from the Bruichladdich Distillery, and I think it might be the most consistent bottling from Bruichladdich as well. Really, where Laphroaig 10 zigs to 43% ABV, the Port Charlotte zags to 50% ABV, giving you a bit more for bang for your buck. Honestly, score 8 out of 10. Fantastic whiskey. Will I replace it? Absolutely, especially with the price being what it is right now, $80. Phenomenal. And that's even despite the fact that I have many different versions of the Port Charlotte whiskey. I still think it's well worth having this 10-year-old on the shelf. Jumping over Lockendall and down the road to the Kildalton coast, we're going to talk about the Laphroaig Quarter Cask, 48% non-chill filtered, but color added. $90 to $110 Canadian a bottle. It's one of the most pervasive releases from the Laphroaig Distillery these days, almost rivaling the 10-year-old. I think its popularity is actually up there with the 10-year-old because it's bottled at that 48%, bit more flavor, grip, and texture for that extra ABV, as well as the extra oak impact you get from those quarter casks, even though it's younger than 10 years old. That said, just be sure to finish a bottle of this quickly. Just like the Laphroaig 10 and many other Laphroaig bottlings, once it's open, it starts to lose that peat influence after a few months. I wouldn't leave it a whole year. And honestly, I'm not very quick to finish bottles, so this one did suffer from that like peat dampening effect. Score 6 out of 10. It's a fine whiskey, a bit above average. Will I replace it? No. I love Laphroaig. I'm a sucker for the annual Cartridge releases. On top of that, I like the 10 cask strength releases. But with those, as well as the many independent bottlings that are available, I don't see why I'd keep space on my shelf for this when I could be making space for those. Next up is, no, you're not seeing double. That is another bottle of Laphroaig. This is Laphroaig 10-year sherry oak finish, bottled at 48%. I'm told non-chill filtered and natural color. Price is about $100 Canadian. This bottle was enjoyable, even if a bit simple. And what I mean by that is it almost feels like the sherry is sitting on top of the base spirit, not really well integrated with it, at least not as much as I'd like. The 10-year age statement is a nice touch, especially with that bumped up ABV. Especially when they easily could have gone non-age statement with this and probably still sold a bunch of it. Score, 6 out of 10. It's the same score as the quarter cask. Will I replace it? No, because currently I already have a backup of this that is not opened yet. And after that one, I don't think I'll replace it. As I mentioned with the last Laphroaig, there's so much choice on the market with the Cartridge, the 10 cask strength, and independent bottlings. It'll just sit way too long cracked on my shelf. Just down the road on the South Kildalton coast, Lagavulin Distillery. Lagavulin 8-year-old, 48% as well. Low chill filtered, color added, $90 to $100 a bottle. This whiskey started as a special release for the Lagavulin Distillery to mark its 200th anniversary, and since then has cemented its place in what I consider is the core range, along with the 16-year-old and 12 cask strength. It's a more refill cask, spirit forward take on Lagavulin than say the 16-year-old, which relies more on those sherry cask characteristics. It has many fans. I can see the charm, but it just comes off a bit more like green and mezcal-like for me. And it's just solid whiskey, just solid in my books, which is just enough. 6 out of 10, same score as those Laphroaigs. Will I replace it? No, my shelves are bursting with bottles. Store shelves are bursting with bottles. If the price came down significantly, I'd probably stock it, but right now I'd be reaching past this for the Port Charlotte 10 on my own shelf. I'm not going to replace it. Going back to the town of Bowmore, the Bowmore Distillery, Vaults Edition number 1, Atlantic Sea Salt, 51.5% ABV. Chill filtered, color added, I believe $90 to $200 a bottle. I have seen it on sale for $90, which is a fantastic deal. That's what I got mine for. Thoughts are that Bowmore itself suffers slings and arrows that are purely of their own creation. One of the most adored and legendary distilleries that so often abuses its whiskeys. I don't understand. It's a shame because I fell in love with the distillery when I visited, but this Vaults release is one of the few official bottling releases that I can wholeheartedly recommend. Bursting with stone fruit, some light tropicals, brine, and medium peat level. This stuff is solid. It's 51.5%. The added ABV, it profiles almost like ex-bourbon Springbank. Score 8.5 out of 10. It's fantastic stuff. Will I replace it? Yes, I have. I drained this bottle. I have a second. I would love another backup. However, I have to wait for it to go on sale because $200 Canadian is too much for this bottle. Try to pick it up somewhere between $90 to $130 a bottle. It really is good stuff. Our last bottle before we leave Islay is this Port Askaig 25-year-old, bottled of 45.8%, non-chill filtered, natural color. It's from Elixir Distillers. It runs about $400 Canadian regular price. I got mine for $300 on a great sale. It's one of 3 bottles that are actually at our open bar at our reception or at our wedding this year, so it's special in that way, and it proved very, very popular. Tasting notes of like lemon, smoked herbs, peat, brine, cured meats, bacon wrapped scallops. Really a lovely whiskey. I believe this is 1993 Kalila that was left to its own devices for 25 years, bottled in 2019, and it's come out just a fantastic dram. There's bottles of this still available in Canada. Somehow it seems like we just get more and more once it sells out. I wish I could afford to replace this bottle, and I actually have about a dram and a half left in this bottle because I do intend to review it for you guys before I finish it off. Score 9 out of 10. Would I replace it? Yes, completely worth the price tag at $300 or even $320. You can find it on sale for both of those on occasion. I would replace it if I could. Let's take a quick trip to India, guys. We're going to talk about the Indri Trini 3-wood Indian single malt whiskey, 46%, non-chill filtered, natural color. Runs about $80 to $90, and this is a surprisingly Moorish and tasty entry from the Piccadilly Distillery, which has quickly earned a spot next to other more established Indian single malt distilleries like Paul John, Amrut, and Rampur. For those who like strong cask influence, this is an Indian whiskey for you. First fill ex-bourbon casks, wine casks, and PX sherry casks blended quite nicely together. Thank you to Lars of the Red Deer Whiskey Club for leaving me the heel of this bottle when he left from his quick visit to BC. Cheers, my friend, for that. Scores 6.5 out of 10. Will I replace it? Not at this time. It's not because it's not good. I just think I'd rather continue to explore what there is from the Piccadilly Distillery offerings, perhaps the cask strength Indri Drew. Now we venture back to the Scottish Highlands and Islands, and we're going to the Isle of Arran to talk about the Arran Bodega Sherry Cask. It's 55.8% ABV, non-chill filtered natural color. It cost me about $65 at the time, but now it runs between 80 to 130. This batch was a nicely balanced cask strength sherry influenced whiskey from the Isle of Arran distillery, the Laphroaig distillery. I enjoyed it quite a bit. However, this batch is also from 2020, and more recent batches have seemed to dip in quality from the samples I've had and the things I've heard from others. It's fairly batch dependent. With the increase in price and the batchiness, I'm not sure if I would recommend it to people right now unless you try it. That said, this bottle, I'd score about 6 out of 10. And will I replace it? No. At NAS cask strength whiskeys, they really need to nail it in this day and age. And this one seems to be lagging behind in recent times. So thanks for the good memories. But I think we're going to move on to other releases from the Arran distillers. Guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching this far. We got about 5 whiskeys left, and I just figured I'd ask you guys a question. Maybe you can comment down below. What is your most recent bottle kill? How would you rate it? And would you replace it? Let me know down in the comments. And thanks for watching, guys. Next up, we're heading right back to the Isle of Arran. It's the Arran Amarone cask finish, 50% ABV, non-chill filtered, natural color. About $80 to $130. Again, I got mine for $65 back in 2020. This whiskey gave me fits throughout. I found it thin for 50% ABV. At times it tasted far too sweet, at times too spicy, and other times too bitter or acidic actually. I poured it for others at tastings, in line to buy whiskeys. I also poured it blind for others. It just never clicked for me, and it really put me off trying other Amarone cask influenced single malt whiskeys. And yet I've heard others online singing its praises. Different strokes for different folks. For me, this whiskey was a miss. 4 out of 10 is my score. Will I replace it? No. Next, from the Ardnamurchan distillery, this is the Ardnamurchan 80-01-2101. That's a mouthful. But it's basically the 80 core range release, the precursor to it. This is 46.8% ABV, non-chill filtered natural color. Runs about $60 to $90 now for the modern version of it. This bottle was my introduction to Ardnamurchan, to this lovely West Highland distillery. And this bottle highlights one of their great strengths, and that is their blending team. It's so well balanced between the peated and unpeated spirit, between ex-bourbon and the sherry. The fruits are bright, there's chalk candies, boiled sweets, light peated level. It's a beautiful minerality and coastal nature. It's just a bloody brilliant dram. Really hits the spot. In the end, it's only because of this bottle that I actually wound up traveling to the Ardnamurchan Peninsula. Score 8 out of 10. Will I replace it? 100% yes. And I look forward to replacing this bottle with the more recent release, because then I could actually experience the new 80 core range release. I have full confidence it'll be every bit as good as this one was. Closing out the Highlands, we have a banger of a whiskey here. It's a Glendronach Parliament 21-year-old. 48% non-chill filtered natural color, runs about $300 to $400. It's another bottle that met its end as my wedding was approaching, as I was sturgeon fishing with family from Nova Scotia. This whiskey is raisin, plum, tobacco, leather, orange, and mature oak. Rich sherried wonder. This is a 2020 release of Glendronach Parliament, so it's actually no younger than 25 years old if we believe the age chart that's going around. This isn't my first bottle either. I went through one, and then I received a half bottle of this very kindly to share with others by Watchman999. So thank you so much for that, Watchman. Thanks for sharing this charmer of a whiskey, buddy. Yeah, really appreciate that. Score 9 out of 10. It's a fantastic whiskey. Will I replace it? No. And I think it's just simply down to price. When I bought my first Glendronach 21, it was closer to $240, not $400. I don't know if I'll ever buy another bottle of it at that price. And finally, let's finish our journey in Campbeltown. We're going to talk about the Kilkerran 12-year-old 2020 release, I believe this is. 46% ABV, non-chill filtered natural color. Price right now is about $80 to $110 a bottle, but I'm I've been seeing it for months for $80 a bottle, which is an insane price for this whiskey. One of the best bang for your buck bottles around at the moment, especially at that price. And yet it still flies further under the radar than say Springbank 10. Honestly, the quality of this release is about par with Springbank 10, if not sometimes above it. If you haven't tried it, you simply must. Score 9 out of 10, especially at $80 a bottle. It's an absolute perma-shelf bottling for me. I have multiple already set aside. I'd consider getting more at that price, especially if the rumors are true about a change from floor malted Springbank distillery barley allocated to Glengyle being replaced by some other barley source to free up supply for Springbank. If that happens, we could see some big changes coming to what we currently know Kilkerran 12-year-old to be. Our finale, our last whiskey from Campbeltown, is the Springbank 10-year-old. This is a 2020 batch release, 46% ABV, non-chill filtered natural color. This bottle went through some things, about $100 to $120 a bottle, and this bottle is a constant joy for me. This is yet another wedding whiskey that we had available as a pour at a reception bar, because I just love the profile of this so much. Barley sugar, melon, cantaloupe, machine shop rags, light peat smoke, Campbeltown funk. Like, yeah, that'll do nicely. That's a great profile. 9 out of 10 is the score. Will I replace it? Every time, no question, as long as I can. It's a modern day classic in my opinion, and the batch variation just keeps it fresh. It keeps it interesting. It's a perma-shelf bottling, and I will replace it every time I get a chance. 9 out of 10. I just love this whiskey. That'll do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, let me know your most recent bottle kill, what you'd rate it, and if you'd replace it. Thanks for joining me here on Whiskey on the West Coast. I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me over the years. And until next time, from the West Coast, Slàinte.